Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we're going to head down to London and we're going to revisit one of the UK or one of England's best craft breweries at the moment. I've not reviewed a beer from them in quite a little while actually, and this one is one of their 5th anniversary beers. So we're going to return to Beavertown and we're having a look at their collaboration with Cloudwater, and this one's called Do Not Open Until 1985. It's a double IPA and it comes in at 9% ABV. Cloudwater of course are one of the kind of whale breweries these days when it comes to England. They do some really good beers as well, and this was one that I picked up during my trip to Manchester recently to meet some of my fellow beer tubers. So definitely looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. It's been my first Beavertown review in quite a wee while, so it should be pretty damn awesome. I've heard very good things about this beer, particularly from Beardy Brett, who absolutely loves Beavertown Brewery, so make sure you check out his channel as well. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries quickly. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done both from Beavertown and from Cloudwater in Manchester. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to start off with Beavertown then, I'll just bring up my brewery notes for this one. So Beavertown Brewery was established back in December of 2011 by Logan Plant and Byron Knight in the kitchen of Duke's Brewing Co in De Beauvoir in Hackney in London. Beavertown of course is the old Cockney name that's given to this area of London because the original name is French. But the brew house was located opposite the Smokers of Barbecue restaurant, and they ran 650 litre brews in the early days. In March of 2013 though, they moved out of their home at Duke's Brewing Co and into their new brew site in Fish Island in London, and because of the massive demand that came for their beers, because they were pretty damn good, they've actually moved once again to a new 11,000 square foot facility in Tottenham Hale, which is where they also have their tap room as well, and hopefully I can get down to London and actually visit that for myself one day. Craig over at Kent Beer Reviews is down in that area, so I'm sure I'll meet up with him in London at some point and have a little trip to Beavertown. That would be something that would be really quite cool to do. But there's a lot of good breweries in London these days. You've got Brew by Numbers, you've got Partisan, there's various other ones that I can't get in my head at the moment, but Beavertown of course were one of the ones that really kind of sprung to fame over 2013. I remember trying one of these beers just before I left Aberdeen. If you look at my very first Beavertown review that I did, it was Gamma Ray, and it was when they were still doing bottles actually, but of course most of their beers are now in cans. And Logan Plant of course, I forget if he's the son or the grandson of Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin, but this is the reason, I think this is the reason why they have this kind of psychedelic style of artwork. Led Zeppelin of course, wonderful band, but they're very recognisable because of this style of artwork, and they do some awesome beer. So if you're interested in English craft beer, Beavertown Brewery is one that you definitely want to check out. As I always say, brewery website and Facebook and stuff are in the description below for you to have a look at. So anyway, to Manchester now, to Cloudwater. So Cloudwater Brewing Company were founded back in 2015 by Paul Jones and James Campbell after the latter left Marble Brewing Company, but they were also joined by Al Wall and Will France, who had a wealth of experience in home brewing, professional brewing, and also in bar management as well. But the company lease an archway which actually allows them to age their beers up to 200 barrels at a time, and they do have their tap room in their barrel store as well, which is pretty cool. But the brewing began in March of 2015 in Manchester, and they officially opened their brew pub in early April of that year as well. They started off with a 2,400 litre brew kit, but they have enough floor space as well in their brew pub to double and triple their brew capacity as well actually. So you will see more expansion from these guys over the next little while, and I believe that was one of the reasons why they moved their tap room over to the barrel store as well quite recently. So they're in early 2018 as well. The other thing to note about these guys was that they were voted the second best brewery in the world by Rate Beer, which is no mean feat, and I think they are the only European brewery to have held that title actually. Of course, most Rate Beer of course is an American dominated site, so it is really cool, and that tells you about the quality of the beers that they're producing for them to be in that position. So a big well done to Cloudwater for that. These guys of course were kind of famed for their double IPA series, the Deepa series. There was I think they went up to version 13, 14, something like that. Craig at Kent Beer Reviews is the one to ask about that, because he's got them all on a line on behind him when he's reviewing, of course, but now they're starting to rename them, so you will see me review another one of those in the next couple of videos, but they name them each now after the different hops, and it's a really good series that you should check out, because it does teach you, if you're into beer tasting, it does teach you a little bit about all the different hops and things that you can use. But yeah, another very, very interesting brewery, and one of the best ones that you're going to find in England just now. But that's all you need to know about the two different breweries involved in this one. Let's actually get on into the beer itself. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 9% double IPA. It was released for the 5th birthday, of course, of Beavertown. They've released a couple of different beers, but this was the one that struck me because I liked the name. Don't open until 1985. I was thinking it was don't open before 1985, but yeah, don't open until 1985. Very good year. Iron Maiden, Live After Death, and all these things. But this one's hopped with Equinaut and Citra and the Whirlpool, and it was dry hopped with Mosaic, Victoria's Secret, and Simcoe as well. And it uses two different yeasts. So it's New England Lallemand that's in this one, and also White Labs London as well. So a very, very good pedigree, this beer. Two really good breweries involved, and I'm sure it will be quite a special beer. At this moment, you'll be seeing this review, I think, around the 18th of March. Beardy Brett has a review out, and also Beer Dad from Liverpool, a new beer tuber I've come across recently. He has a review of this one as well. I think he's from the sort of Liverpool area, but he's not one that I've actually spoken to yet, so I maybe need to drop him a message after this video. But yeah, really nicely presented with the artwork, as is usual with Beavertown and Cloudwater. I do like how this one comes out, and I'm glad that I was able to review one of these 5th anniversary beers for you, because it's, as I say, I'm only in England this year, so it's quite cool to be able to come across this one just now. But without further ado, let's get it out and get on with the taste. And I think this one, considering the two breweries involved and considering both of their pedigrees, I'm sure this will be a pretty damn awesome beer. Craig, of course, that I was mentioning from Kent Beer Reviews, he very kindly sent me a can of Tropicana. I think that was about a year ago or so now he did that, and that was a lovely, lovely beer. I think that's the last beer I had from Beavertown that was kind of in this style, so I'm glad that I'm finally able to try another one for you. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured, and as you would expect, to be honest, it's poured a nice kind of bright, yellowy, kind of hazy colour. There's a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy head on this one. I would say it's quite creamy. It's a sort of creamy coloured head on this one rather than a perfect white, but really, really nice looking beer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and you can see a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head. And I tell you something, there's some lovely there's some lovely nice tropical fruit notes coming off this just as you move it around, but we'll take a closer look at the aroma in just a little minute. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see that it's you can see there's some nice, it's quite opaque actually. I'm just looking at the camera, my little camera control down here. You can see it is quite opaque. No transparency to this beer at all. It's definitely kind of hazy. I'm not sure if they're going for the New England thing with this, or if it is just the malt base or whatever, because that seems to be the big thing these days, doesn't it? Hazy IPAs. But yeah, as you can see, really nice looking beer. So let's look at the aroma and see how we get on then. That's interesting. See, it's basically a fruit bowl. You've got lots of different things going on in there. The malt base is pretty good as well. I mean, it's got some wheaty smoothness to it. I think there's a little bit of an oaty quality in there as well. Yeah, a little bit of an oaty note in there. Bit of biscuit as well, I would say, but definitely wheat, oats, biscuit malts coming out. So it is what you'd expect. There's a bit of the grassy hop kind of mixing in with that as well. I'm getting it's not quite lemongrassy, but not too far away. You can pick up the lighter grassy notes when you're concentrating on the malt base as well, which is quite interesting. But it smells very, very fresh, that's the thing. The floral notes on this one for me aren't coming out too much. This beer definitely leans a little bit more towards the kind of juicy, fruity side of things. But yeah, I think there's a good bit of limey character to this one. When you've got Equinaut in there, you're going to get that. I always find that I love Equinaut. There's a lot of breweries using Equinaut these days, and I love that nice kind of, it's not quite, I don't know if pungent's the right word, but it gives you this really nice limey note, and I think it gives the beer, it kind of mixes well with the sort of floral, spicy floral notes and things that you can get from the beers. But yeah, I like that limey note that's in there. There's definitely some mangoes as well. That'll be from the Citra, of course. Citra always gives you this lovely mango note. And if you take it in a little bit more deeply, you get the sort of orangey tangerine things. That's the Mosaic. And there's a bit of passion fruit in there too. And that's Victoria's Secret, from what I remember, does give you a little bit of passion fruit as well. But Simcoe, of course, is the main one. And this beer has Simcoe in it. And you're going to get passion fruit from that too. But I think the most prominent fruits for me, I would say, There's a wee bit of pineapple as well, actually. The most prominent fruits for me, it's probably the lime that's sticking out for me in this one, and the mango. And you can get a little bit of that tangerine in there. The passion fruit isn't quite as obvious for me. But yeah, I think, yeah, lime, mangoes, and a little bit of that tangerine orange, I think, are the ones that are just kind of sticking out. But yeah, nice smelling beer, this one. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck into it. So let's have a go at this beer then. They don't open until 1985, a collaboration between Beavertown Brewery in London for their 5th birthday with Cloudwater from Manchester. Let's get stuck into this beer. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. You know, it's not a surprise. I'll say that to you right away. Not a surprise to have this beer as good as that. Let's just say it's a beast. One of the things I've always felt with these kind of hazy IPAs, I've always felt that you know, when you go above sort of 8.5% with these, that's when they start to get a little bit too boozy. This one's 9%, so it's really pushing the edge for me, but it does it covers the alcohol really well. I always find that if you go above sort of 8.5%, I always think you need to add a little bit of caramel malt to it just to cover that boozy flavour a little bit. As far as I can tell from the flavour, they haven't done that with this beer, but somehow it's not got that kind of boozy quality that some of these heavier New England IPAs can have. But granted, it is a double IPA, so I'm talking about New England double IPAs, of course. But the alcohol in this one is quite well covered. But that's a damn good beer. I can see it had a rate, I think it was a 99 or so. When I did a quick Google of it, I think it said it was a 99 overall on rate beer that it had, and it was like 4.4 or something like that it had on Untappd. It was something crazy like that, so it's a very highly rated beer, which again is what you'd expect from these breweries. But it's really well done, and I mean, you wouldn't expect anything less from these guys, especially for a 5th birthday beer. They're not going to put something out that isn't as good as the other things that they've done before. Tropicana, like I said, was an absolute beast when I got to try that, but it's lovely. It has everything you'd expect. I mean, let's start off with the malt base then. The malt base in this one, you can feel that sort of wheaty character just going right across the middle of your palate. There's a little bit of an oaty kind of sweetness to this one as well. You can feel the smoothness, the wheat just blanketing your tongue. On top of that, you've got the nice sweet oaty notes, and right in the middle of your palate, you get some of these nice kind of biscuity flavours as well, which is good. Yeah. The malt base is just really nicely done in this one, and the yeasts are giving it that nice smoothness as well. Of course, yeast of course is often underestimated when it comes to brewing beer, but it has a huge effect from the flavour. But the base that this beer has is really nice. But the hops, of course, are where you should be focusing on this beer. So in the back corners of the palate, there's a little tiny touch of earthiness. As far as I can remember, that's the mosaic. I always find that when you've got a little bit of a mosaic in the beer, you do get a little bit of that earthiness in the back corners of the palate. And it's interesting because mosaic always gives you this nice spicy floral note, and the tangerines, the light tangerines, but you do get a bit of that slightly darker earthiness, so you can feel that in the back corners of your palate. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, there is quite a spicy floral aromatic note to this one. Equinox can give you a nice kind of spicy flavour to the beer. Equinox is one of the ones that they're using in the Whirlpool, of course, so I suspect, since it's the early hop, one of the early hops that's added to the brew, that's usually the one that gives you the bitterness. So I suspect the kind of spicy floral notes in this beer are coming from the Equinox. Round the front curve of the palate though, it's a little bit lighter and grassy and things like that, which is nice. And these sides of the beer, I do like that, how it's got this nice, more hoppy bitterness on the sides of the tongue, then round the front curve, it's just that little bit lighter. Yeah, it's nicely done that. So I always say, behind the front curve of the palate, you get this nice little oily bubble, and that's where all your fruity kind of qualities come out of the beer. For this one, you can actually feel there's a good passion fruit base there. And passion fruit, I always find that passion fruit and grapefruit give you this sort of quite dark flavour that and they always sit at the back of the tongue. It's always that kind of It's not quite, it's not sour, but it just gives you this really kind of dark flavour, grapefruit and passion fruit. And when you've got two hops in this beer that are giving you that, the Simcoe and the Victoria's Secret, that will be the reason why you can feel this nice sort of passion fruity note coming out of the beer. That's just forming the base of it. As you progress on, you start to get a little bit more of the kind of tangerine flavours that you'd expect, particularly from the Amarillo. The limey note, I think, is mixing in there with the passion fruit as well, and you can feel a little bit of that sort of limey flavour coming out as the beer mellows out. But it's the tangerine, I think, that starts to come to the fore in this one. But yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of pineapple-y flavour in there as well. That comes out a little bit more in the aftertaste. You've seen how long it was since I took a sip, and this is when you're starting to get the sort of lychees from the Citra and things. So there's definitely a little bit of a lychee in there, which is nice. The lychee and a little bit of the pineapple too. You can sometimes get a little bit of pineapple from Mosaic as well in the aftertaste, but there's definitely a bit of pineapple, and maybe I want to say there's a little bit of kind of papaya in there as well. It does remind me of the Tropicana. There's so much going on in terms of fruitiness in this beer, particularly in the aftertaste. A lot of the complexity in this beer is in the aftertaste. It just keeps you wanting more. But the thing is, it's 9%. You could easily rattle off a few of these. You could drink a few of these so easily. So it's quite a dangerous beer in that regard. But it's really good, and basically I can see why this one is so highly rated. And Beavertown do have a knack of doing that. They've got beers that have got really nice, simple bases, but they, as I say, they do them very well. But they've got a real knack of putting hops together in different combinations and giving you some real complexity to the fruit. And I'm sure I said the same about the Tropicana when I had a look at that, but this one definitely strikes me in that same regard, so I can see exactly why it's really highly rated. It's a damn good beer. But when you've got Cloudwater involved in it as well, you don't expect anything less from either of these two breweries. Both breweries are capable of producing beers like this on their own, but for them to go together and do this is pretty cool, I have to admit. So it's quite a rare beer to have a go of, and I'm glad that I was able to taste it for you guys. For this one, in terms of the mouthfeel, I would say probably, I think mid-bodied is fair for this one. I think definitely mid-bodied. Yeah, mid-bodied. Carbonation's quite smooth. Yeah, smooth carbonation. Mouthfeel in this one, it does have a little bit of an oily character towards the end, right enough, but other than that, it's quite smooth. I do like that. It starts off smooth, then you can just feel it becomes a little bit more oily as your kind of mouth adjusts to the hops and things that are in the beer. It starts off with the malt base, of course, then it really starts to push into the kind of hoppy flavours. There's a lovely fruity character to this beer. I would say that it's got a good balance between the fruity, juicy notes and the bitterness. The bitterness, as I was saying, in this one is quite spicy. I think that's the Equinox that's bringing that out. I do like that, the lime and spicy notes that you get from Equinox. It's a really interesting hop, that one. But you can really feel that coming out of this beer. It's got a really good balance between the fruity, juicy side of things and the nice hoppy bitterness. The earthiness, actually, that's in the back corners kind of adds another dimension to it as well. And like I say, the malt base has a good balance between the smoothness and the sweetness as well. But the message to take away is that this beer is really bloody good. And if you get the chance to try it, I recommend that you do. It's just very well done, and you wouldn't expect anything less from either of these two breweries. If you enjoyed the Tropicana, then I think this is one that you're definitely going to enjoy. So have a go at it and see what you think. It's a really quite nice beer. So yeah, really glad that I got to try this one. So I think that's a good way to sign off on this. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Make sure you check out Beer Dad and Beardy Brett's reviews and any of the other YouTubers who go on to review this beer, because it is pretty good, and of course it's good to get different opinions on things as well. But thank you once again for watching. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer. Let me know your favourite beers from Cloudwater and from Beavertown, and I will catch you guys very soon. They don't open until 1985. A 9% double IPA, one of the 5th anniversary beers from Beavertown Brewery, brewed in collaboration with Cloudwater from Manchester. Stand just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Cheers.